So we are talking about
What? Baseball?
baseball.
Not again.
No, it's a new concept.
Not today.
Not today.
Oh, I'm sick of this baseball, and I'm sick of umpires getting hit on purpose. Did you see that?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. What do you think?
I just by looking at the video about 15 different times, the network, slowed it down. Given what happened with the manager getting booted off and also the catcher, I think there's a very good chance that the Tigers were trying to send a message to the umpire.
I disagree.
Whoa.
I disagree. After seeing the video, it was bases loaded, 2 outs.
Right.
So they're going to risk throwing a pass ball in this situation. Plus the catcher, it was the catcher that got ejected, right? So this guy was a new catcher.
He was a backup catcher.
Backup catcher probably hardly ever catches this guy who was pitching, who had a nasty two-seam, by the way. It was a pretty nasty pitch.
Right. The thing is, there's no way, as a chief umpire, you can say with certainty that pitch was an accident or the other way, or that he just missed it. There's no way you can prove that.
Well, it said, right, in the article, didn't it say he asked the other umpires if they did it on purpose
He did,
or not?
allegedly.
So he didn't initially believe or not believe. He was wondering whether it was on purpose or not. So it wasn't clear to him either.
I think it's got to be hard for you to believe that guys who are getting paid millions of dollars a year to play a game would go that route. But I agree with you. I think the game, bottom of the third, bases loaded. I do give you that, okay, why would you risk a run? It's early in the game, though, right?
Early in the game. But I think it was like 4-1 or 3-1, something like that.
Right. But I also think, okay, this guy is probably pretty accurate as a pitcher. So if he wants to put it in the middle of the plate as a fastball, it's probably going to hit the umpire if the catcher doesn't touch it, right?
Right, but then again, he had to be pinpoint accurate because there was only a small area of that umpire showing that it got through to. There wasn't a big area, how many times can you try that with bases loaded, 2 outs in a close game? You know what I'm saying?
It might have been worth it for them to send a signal, I mean, I don't know, where are the Tigers with, I mean, the Indians obviously are in it. Right? I know that this happened a few days ago, but what I'm saying is, just by looking at the catcher, unless the guy's never caught a day in his life, it looks like he stabbed at the ball.
Wait, was this the Indians now or the Tigers?
Well, the Tigers were pitching.
Okay. So this was, now this is off topic a little bit, but was this before or after? Is this before or after the streak ended?
This is before. This is during the streak.
So they were still winning. So they probably won that game. Probably because the Tigers were throwing balls at umpires and letting runners score.
They were probably, I would say, 15 games into the streak. So
that was impressive. What'd they end at?
22, I think.
Wow, that's crazy.
And they lost to Kansas City.
Wow.
The Indians deserve, I'm going to keep going off topic here, but the Indians deserve to go back to the World Series, I think. Anyhow, so if I look at the catcher's reaction, unless the pitchers got crossed up, so the catcher and the pitcher just didn't get it right, I would say, okay, he missed it. But it looks like the catcher just stabbed at the ball, completely missed it, and it hit the umpire right in the chest, or actually in the neck.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell where it hit him, but he definitely looked messed up afterwards.
But it's your word against the pitcher and the catcher.
And obviously they're still saying no, they didn't do it on purpose, right? And they're investigating it, but I guess we'll never know. But here's my thing. Usually baseball players and teams are better at hiding when they're going after someone. Like if they go after someone, it might not be till that next series that they play him, or if it was an umpire, maybe not to the next series that they have that umpire behind the plate. They don't necessarily do it that same inning that the guy 2 batters later or 3 batters later or whatever.
So I don't want you to break bro code, but in your career, did you ever conspire with a catcher to try and do something like that, just to prove a point or just to get back at an umpire? Or, I mean, I don't want too much info, but yes or no?
No, I mean, obviously, like, there were some umpires that were horrible and I didn't like. And umpires got tough jobs that their job is basically getting yelled at by everyone else when they make a mistake. They never get praised for anything good. But I never really had like that much hatred for an umpire because that's something you can't control. I can't control whether that guy's throwing a ball or calling a ball or a strike or whatever it is. I would get upset a little bit when I throw that pitch that I thought was a strike and he calls a ball. But you just can't if you let that affect you, you're not going to play as good as you can because you still have that next pitch. So I never really tried to let it bother me that much. In fact, what I always did when I went to the field, and I found that it helped a lot, is when I would go to the field, I would find out the umpires' names when I went to the field. And when I went out there, I would say what's up to the field umpire by his first name because nobody does that. Nobody goes out there and says what's up to the umpire like, hey, what's up, Joe? How's it going, man? They were always like, oh, okay. And I felt like I got calls because of that, and just being cool with the umpires, talking like that. So especially as a catcher, I don't know if you did a lot of catching, talking to the umpires while you were catching.
I did, and you know what? It's super important because they're not expecting it. Right. So even if you can't find out their name prior to you getting to home plate, if you can just get there beforehand, make sure your mask is off, shake his hand, her hand, introduce yourself, it's going to make your life a lot easier. But what I wanted to say when you were saying that was that if you do upset an umpire or you do something to upset them or to make them look bad, just keep in mind that you're probably going to see them again, right? Not just that year, but you're probably going to see them again in the future. And keep in mind that the other umpires take care of themselves, meaning that they're going to have his back.
Right.
And you're never going to know if they're coming after you or not with bad calls and whatnot. But keep in mind that the other 3 or 4 umpires are a very close group. And if you make one of them or the entire crew look bad, they will make you pay. And you'll never know. You'll never see it coming. But they'll take care of you, if you know what I mean.
That's another good thing, too. I was just thinking of, like, when you go out there and you talk to them, and you've already established a relationship with them, besides never talking to them, and then the first time you talk to them is when you're like, what the hell, man, that was a blown call. But if you already established that, like, hey, what's going on, man, blah, 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 have a little side conversation, then if you get that pitch or whatever that you think is bad, you can go and say, hey, what the hell, man, that was horrible. And it's kind of like you're telling them that you're upset with it, but there's no real friction.
Man, yeah.
So then they usually give you the call the next time. So it's
right.
just,
I think it's like an unspoken agreement or an understanding that there's respect. That's number one, right? You respect them. They have a job to do. They respect you. And one of the coolest things about the game that you probably never get to see because commercial breaks cut into it is when there is a misunderstanding between, catcher, an umpire, and a pitcher, and then the third out happens, and then you see, the pitcher walking off the mound, and him and the umpire have a quick chat. And it may be about, hey, was it a bit outside? Like, you can tell us, like, what happens in that little interaction of maybe 10 seconds where you're going off and maybe there was a pitch or two that you didn't like. And you have those 10 seconds in a very kind, respectful way to say, hey, should I bring it up a little bit? What was wrong with the call? And I think it only improves and it strengthens the relationship that you have with that guy.
Well, I can tell you a quick story about my first and last professional at bat. And so I was playing for the Binghamton Mets, that's AA for the Mets affiliation, and we were playing the Reading Phillies, which was in Reading, Pennsylvania. And I was pitching. I just pitched 2 shutout innings. In fact, I got a YouTube video coming out about this story.
You got a YouTube channel?
I got a YouTube channel. 800 videos about baseball. I'm done talking about baseball. Let's shut this podcast.
Let's talk about umpires.
But anyway, so I go up to bat, and I guess they were going to leave me in because I was pitching well, and I was going to go back out for the 9th inning and shut it down because the closer was still getting warmed up. We were winning at the time, I think. And I go up there, and I remember they had just switched pitchers too. So this guy comes up. I came up with 2 outs. First of all, someone at the other end of the dugout goes, Madden, you're on deck. And I was like, oh, what? I didn't have a bat. I didn't have a helmet. I didn't have batting gloves. I didn't have anything. I never went up to bat since high school. Since then, it had been, what was that, 2008?
Most people listening may not know or be aware that you do hit on the National League side, right?
Yeah.
In the minors. Is it at every level?
No, only AA and above.
There you go.
So, short season, low A, rookie ball, high A, you don't hit until AA, and you don't practice it.
Yeah.
You're not out there taking BP every day. They don't care. They don't want to waste the time on that. We might bunt like twice a year just to practice our bunts. But that was it. So I hadn't hit in 7 years. I hadn't seen live pitching. So I go up to bat. They bring in a new pitcher, Antonio Bastardo.
Oh, lefty.
Lefty, throwing 97, 98 miles an hour at the time. He was still in the minor leagues. And so I go up. I don't have anything. So I go to Lucas Duda, who was with the Mets. I think he's still with the Mets. I don't know.
He's with Tampa now.
Oh,
yeah.
Very nice. So I go up to him. I go, hey, can I borrow your bat? And he's like, come on, don't break my bat, man. So he lets me borrow his bat, and I was like, I won't break it, I promise. And then Ruben Tejada was sitting next to him, and he gives me his helmet and like kind of gives me a little Ruben Tejada smile, like it's funny that I'm about to go up to hit. So then I'm walking out. I put Ruben's helmet on, but it doesn't fit, so it's like sticking on the top of my head.
He was a shortstop, right?
Yeah, he was a shortstop. He was young at the time. He was still 18. He was like 18 years old at the time, still a kid.
He was sick with. Oh, he's still with the Mets.
Yeah, he was a cool kid. Didn't speak a lot of English, but real funny, easygoing, nice kid. So anyway, he gives me his helmet, but it's sitting on the top of my head. I go out there with Lucas Duda's bat, which is way too heavy for someone who's never swung a bat in the last 7 years. So I get up there, and so Antonio Bastardo throws 97 miles an hour in the dirt, and I take it. Of course, I wasn't swinging at all. I hadn't seen a live pitching, so I was taking the first pitch for sure. And I don't know what I did or my reaction or what it was, but the catcher and the umpire were hysterically laughing.
You probably looked so awkward.
Yeah, to my reaction to the 97 mile an hour pitch in the dirt. And so then the catcher says, are you gonna? I think he said, "Are you gonna swing it all this at bat?" I was like, "If he throws me something good," because if the first pitch was in the dirt, in my head I'm going, "Oh my God, I hope I don't break my hand." I don't, all this stuff. So then they put my picture on the big screen out in center field. I was like, "Oh dang!" And I was like, "I can't wait till tomorrow," talking to the catcher and the umpire because they're still chuckling about my reaction. And so then he throws another pitch, boom, 98 mile an hour strike on the outside corner, and the catcher was like, "Why? What's going on tomorrow?" I said, "Because I get better looking every day." And so the umpire and the catcher are cracking up again, laughing. Another pitch coming in, boom, strike, 98 mile an hour strike. Again, they're just dying laughing the whole time. The umpire and the catcher hadn't seen. They already had that
From a lefty.
Yeah. No, he was nasty.
He was. I remember watching him play with the Phillies, and the guy was sick.
I mean, he's been in the big leagues for like 8 years now or something like that.
I think he became like a specialty guy, but he was still throwing, 94.
Yeah, his velocity's down now. I was looking at some video of him, but he's like, low 90s now, but he was throwing cheese back then, 97, 98. And then so it's 1 and 2, and I'm like, all right, I'm telling myself in my head, I got this, I'm swinging, blah blah blah. They're still, the umpire and the catcher are still hysterical laughing this whole time. I must have looked like an idiot or something. And so I'm going, I'm swinging, I'm definitely swinging. So he throws the pitch, I see it out of his hand, and it was outside. I'm like, that's a ball. I take it, and all of a sudden it goes whoop, whoop, right across the plate. He throws me a slider. I haven't hit a baseball.
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1, 2
to a pitcher.
To a pitcher who hasn't hit in 6 years, who hadn't taken a swing all at bat, and he's throwing 98 miles an hour.
Man,
I didn't even, I'm
had
like,
no chance.
Yeah, I was like, what? And my shoulders dropped, and I dragged Lucas Duda's huge bat all the way back to the dugout.
But you didn't break
Almost
it, right?
crying. I didn't break it.
There you go.
I gave Ruben his helmet back, nice and clean. I didn't even barely put it on my head.
Your first and last.
That was my first one. I ended my career with a 0.
It reminds me of watching Bartolo Colon hit. As awkward as he is as a player in general, like when you see him at the plate, he's got a belly and he's overweight, short guy, but he's been able to stay in the majors for, I'm gonna say probably 19 years.
Crazy.
Dominican guy. He's got the forearms like Popeye, and he came up throwing hard, but every time he gets to the plate, they call him Big Sexy.
Big Sexy.
But anyways, I remember seeing Bastardo play pitch with the Phillies, and he's still up there, so he must be doing something right.
It's crazy.
But that's a good story to tell those kids that are scared of hitting. Imagine when you start to see. Actually, I remember talking to Bobby Abreu, and him talking about the last couple of years in his career, you know, he retired like 3 years ago. He played for the Phillies, the Yankees, Anaheim, and I remember him saying that guys that would throw anywhere, you know, from 95 to 98, there was not much he could do. And we're talking a guy who's potentially going to be up for debate for the Hall of Fame at some point. But he would say that, you know, he would hit from the left side, right? He was a lefty guy, very good hitter. That whenever he faced guys that were throwing hard, this whole thing about just put your bat on the ball is a lot harder to do than what you think, because you have very little time, and these guys that are up there, they can put that ball just about wherever they want. And it's a scary thought to know that there's a ball coming at you 95 miles an hour, much more when you're a pitcher and you don't get to see it every day like these guys do.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, I've seen a few 90-mile-an-hour guys the time before in high school when I was hitting. You know, I'm sure you've seen a few 90-mile-an-hour guys. 98 is hard to see. It's hard to see. It's scary. It's very, very scary. I was literally debating, like, I don't want to break my hands. Like, I don't want to break my hands. What if I break my hands?
How tough you think it is to square up on a ball? Now, mind you, you're hitting with wood, so it just adds a little more.
I mean, I basically almost took him yard.
In your mind.
Right. If I would have continued my swing, or actually just started a swing, I probably would have hit.
Do you think he's got a podcast that talks about
me?
His side of the story?
Yes.
So, you know what? The one and only time I ever faced John Madden, I'm going to tell you guys. Listen up.
Went deep.
I was throwing 97. And he was laughing at me, but I tell you what, I threw him that slider last minute.
He probably thought I was laughing at him because him and the catcher and the umpire are all laughing.
Probably.
Now, listen, going back to the umpire thing, do you think these guys who get mad at the umpire, like, who, you know, you've had coaches and players who just yell at the umpire, like it's like a thing, they're just yelling at the umpire. Do you think it's because they're on the Mexican supplementation?
Elaborate, please.
Steroids.
Steroids?
Steroids.
You know, before we get into that, I'll tell you one quick thing on what I would do, what I used to do every now and then if I was mad at an umpire, and there was no way for him to blame me, but I would actually crop dust. Now, I would wait for a batter to step in the box to do it, because then I could say, holy shit.
You know what you can call it? You know what you can call it? Crop dust instead?
A steroid?
Drag bunt.
A drag bunt. There you go.
Better than a baseball word, right?
There you go.
The ball follows you all the way down to first baseline.
I would drag a bunt for as long as I could, but keep in mind, catchers, if you want to do this, you got to do it when there's a batter in the box, because you can't blame it on the umpire. He's gonna know it's not him. He's gonna blame it on you. But anyways, man, steroids. That's such a touchy subject. I'll tell you my take on it and what I went through. Not that I took any, because I didn't, but even playing JUCO ball and playing, you know, NCAA, steroids was such a part of the game, because if one kid was doing it in the team, there was a second or third or fourth kid doing it. There was never just one guy doing it, or there was never one guy passing it around. There was always a number of guys that wanted to do better. They wanted to look better physically, but they wanted to just perform better than everyone else. But it never stopped at one, right? So, you know, the names are irrelevant, really, but it was more about, okay, if this guy's doing it and he's got a better shot than me to play or to move up or to continue playing baseball, why wouldn't I do it? The whole thought of, or the concept of, is this safe for me or not, didn't really, I don't think it crossed their minds, because these were friends of mine that were doing it, but it was never like, you know what, I decided not to do it because I don't think it's safe for me. The only people that didn't do it, myself included, was probably because there was just no money to buy it with. But the whole thing with steroids, it's still very much a part of the game. I do think that at the highest level is not as prevalent as it was before, but I think guys still find a way to cheat or to shit a little bit.
Well, when I got drafted, it was during the whole like steroid. I was drafted 2005, and it was like just coming to, like, everything was just coming to a head with the steroid stuff. like the Mitchell report and all that was while I just got drafted. So a lot of that steroid stuff was coming to a head. And I thought I was going to go into somewhere where it was going to be like very prevalent and a lot of stuff. And I was like going to be introduced to this world of like, you know, someone trying to push steroids on me and stick a needle in my butt. But it was so far from that. I had more guys that I knew not in professional baseball doing steroids than that I knew in professional baseball. Now, one thing that I did notice that a lot of guys were more on like the, what do you call that? The uppers, like the like to get their energy going and stuff. Like
they call artificial.
In baseball, they call them greenies. That's the term they use. If you ever watch, there's a great video. It's a funny video. It's I don't know if you ever seen it. The Doc Ellis.
I've
Perfect
seen it
Game.
on
The Perfect Game.
yeah, on Speed.
Is it on LSD. LSD.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And he talks about it. And he's
a lot
like,
of animation and stuff.
Yeah, it's an animated thing. It's pretty funny. You got to check it out. But he talks about a lady being sitting in the front row, and he was like, she was the one with the greenies, you know, and that was the what do you call them? Methamphetamines or whatever. This is like the uppers or whatever. So a lot of guys were taking that, and then there was a handful of guys that were taking HGH,
which at that time they were probably not on the banned substance list, right? At that time, since it was still early on, the Mitchell report was just coming out. There were a lot of things that were still legal, as far as MLB was concerned, right? And then they later on became part of the ban list once they went over the list and whatnot. But do you think the fact that you didn't see it as much as you thought you would, was it because guys were scared or just wasn't a part of?
No, I really think, I don't know. I don't know if they were scared or what. I don't know what the reason why. I just thought it was going to be a lot more prevalent. I thought a lot more guys were going to be doing it, but there really wasn't. And you know, when I came home, a lot of people asked me, you know, how, you know, a lot of people doing steroids in there. It's like, not really.
The message is clear, right, from us. It's stay away. But I'll tell you this, I as recently as about 3 years ago, we live in the Orlando area, so there's a lot of, you know, you have baseball weather year round, and you have a lot of people who are self-proclaimed baseball guys and trainers and instructors and all that, and you have guys who are actually from other countries who recruit guys from here. They take them to countries like, you know, Dominican Republic and other places, and they basically host you for a few months or maybe a few weeks at a time. They give you a home, they give you food, they give you training with the hopes of you getting signed or picked up, and then they take a part of your bonus. You know, it's part of the game, and it's been a part of the game for a long time. What happens there, now I wasn't there to witness this, but I did speak to a couple of the kids that were a part of that. Some of the things that happen, depending on who you go with, is that part of the training, right? Part of the regimen that you go through while you're there is that they take you through this process of making you stronger, faster, better as a baseball player, and that comes with perhaps getting some things in your body that you're not supposed to have. Now, this is not part of the pamphlet or the brochure when you sign up and your parents have to pay, you know, $1,500 to go to the Dominican Republic, but it does happen because, you know, there's this thing that people just believe in and cutting corners and doing things the wrong way. But my point with that story is that I would say 95% of these kids never get a look from a scout. They end up going through the process of steroids or things that are illegal, and then they come back here and they either have to do it again or just suffer the consequences. So the takeaway is stay away, right? There's other ways to get stronger, to get faster, and obviously raw talent and hard work are really more important than anything else.
Right. Well, I mean, here's the thing. We're always going to have this problem no matter the testing, because when there's millions of dollars at stake, some guys are going to do whatever they can to get the advantage. So that we're always going to have a problem no matter the testing, because guys are going to be trying to stay one step ahead. So, you know, I just think when you're coming down to make the personal decision, that you need to, you know, look at the long-term side of it, like, because it could be very detrimental to your long-term health, you know. So just be smart, and like Coach Gus said, you know, it's about, there's other ways to do it. Just because you're taking steroids, you still have to be able to hit a baseball, you know. So work on the skills, work on, you know, if you're trying to gain that muscle mass, buckle down on your eating. So many guys want this quick fix. Whenever I talk about pitching velocity, they want a quick fix for pitching velocity. The main thing is having a plan, executing upon that plan, and being consistent with it, So all these things can happen before you even get to the point where you want to make a decision on sticking a needle in your butt and trying to, gain a little bit of benefit from that. I think guys just jump to that way too soon. And I just think it's not worth it, even in the end. If you choose to go that route, I don't think it's worth it. You only have one body, you only have one life, and you don't want to,
Say no to drugs. Say no to greenies.
Say no to hitting umpires in the neck.
Umpires, yeah, all that stuff is bad for you long term and short term. I think try not to cut corners is the main thing that you gotta think about. If you find yourself at 14, 15 years old and you still weigh 110 pounds and you're 5'11",
well, then you got to do steroids. No.
No. You still don't. Never. Just find ways, legal ways, good ways for you. Maybe it's better for you to spend that time and that money with a trainer or nutritionist, something that's going to help you do it the right way. That's really the message here.
Hard work. I got to go.
All right, guys. Love you.
See ya.